Steve Cole is the Director of Regulatory Services at Clemson, and that's a big area. And so why don't you tell us some of the things that are involved, and then we'll go back and discuss some of them in detail.
Sure thing. First of all, thanks for having me. Regulatory Services at Clemson University encompasses several major programs that help South Carolinians in a lot of different ways. First of all, we regulate all the pesticides that are registered and sold in the state. We also regulate fertilizer sales in the state. And then we also, finally, and maybe this might be the one that has the most impact on folks, is our nursery regulatory program, where we inspect and regulate all the plants that are shipped inside and outside the state of South Carolina, looking for invasive pests, weeds, diseases, things that could have a huge economic impact on South Carolina.
Well, let's start off with pesticides, because people want to use pesticides, but yet they're afraid of pesticides. So what are some of the things that y'all do that make people have more confidence in when pesticides are applied?
Well, we work very closely with the Environmental Protection Agency in registering pesticides, first of all. And the product registration is really a very lengthy process that most people don't think that much about, but there's a lot of testing and a lot of research that's going into those kinds of things before the product even makes it to the shelf, to ensure that the risks are not as high as the benefits. We always want to make sure that the benefits outweigh the risks.
Certainly.
So whenever those products are registered at the federal level, they then come to South Carolina to the Department of Pesticide Regulation, and those products are reviewed again and registered by us before they even make it for sale in the state. Yes.
So you have another step to ensure safety.
We absolutely do. And then we take it a step further. Anyone who's out there that is performing a pesticide service for a fee in the state has to be registered with us. They have to pass an exam and show minimum competency levels that ensure that we all are confident that they know how to use those products and use them correctly.
And we do try to remind people that they should look for that yellow sticker on the front fender of the truck.
Yes, ma'am,
because
that's
it's
right.
a sign that the person has had some training and has shown to you that they understand how to read the label and how to do things correctly.
That's correct. And if anyone has any questions about that, we work really closely with the Extension Service as well, and our Extension agents can give us a call and we can work together to help clarify any questions they have, make sure folks have confidence in their pesticide applicators that they use at home.
It's not so critical for me because I have a small yard, but for farmers who put out huge amounts of fertilizer at times, and it's a large part of their cost. I think you ensure that what they pay for, that they get what they pay for.
That's correct. Our fertilizer program is really a consumer protection program for farmers in the state of South Carolina. And it's designed to make sure that when they buy a certain fertilizer product, that product is blended correctly, and it allows them to put exactly what they need on their crops so that they can maximize their yields and also minimize any kind of overspending or runoff or anything like that. So there's an environmental component to it as well.
There certainly is, because if you put too much out, if you could say, well, it'd be wonderful if they got more than they paid for, but actually that's not true, because then if the plants can't utilize it, it may go into groundwater and cause contamination.
That's right, and nutrient management in a lot of our waters in the state of South Carolina is a very important issue.
We are fortunate to have the water system we do, and we are all trying to make certain that it stays clean and we can enjoy it as much as we do. And then occasionally we hear about frightening new things. Y'all were so on the spot to discover some camellias that came in from California that had a potential very threatening disease on them, and y'all are always looking in the nursery industry as well. So tell us how you protect us from invasive products or injury organisms through that.
Sure. Well, we work real closely with USDA and other states, and products that are shipped into South Carolina, all these nursery products that come from California, Oregon, places like that, they have to come with a phytosanitary certificate along with it. And that certificate is actually issued after an inspection before those products leave their state of origin. And when they come in, we inspect them again to make sure that those products are safe. And if we find something that is potentially invasive or a potential problem, we will stop sell those products, not allow those products to get into the trade, and we'll either have them destroyed or shipped back to the original state where they came from.
And right now, everyone's being very aware of several things like the boxwood blight that y'all have been.
Yes.
Occasionally, we get information.
Yes, we're starting to see boxwood blight in this state, and
the backbone of so many landscapes.
Exactly. Yes, a very common plant in a lot of landscapes in South Carolina, and a lot of states have had problems. If you look at the states of Virginia and some of those states further north of us, that is an issue. They're aware of it, but sometimes things get through the channels of trade, and once we're able to see it here and stop it, it makes us feel good that folks aren't buying something that potentially is just going to die, and the industry gives the industry a bad name too. So a lot of the nursery folks that are out there that we work with, they appreciate what we do, and they understand we're helping.
It's not an antagonistic system. It's a cooperative system.
Absolutely, they sort of expect us to be there because they know we're looking out for them as well.
Well, of course, you know what, when people call in and have a problem on making good, the first thing we say is, have you taken a soil test?
That's right.
And I think that our laboratories are also under your purview, and gosh, let's talk about those 2 laboratories and the great services that
we have
offer.
2 great laboratories that are service laboratories. We have the Plant Problem Clinic, which is a diagnostic lab that anyone in the state can utilize if they have a problem with a plant, either a disease or a pest, or if it's an unknown problem. You can send those samples to us. You can go through the county extension office.
Yes.
Y'all are very good to help us, and we'll give you a diagnosis, and oftentimes you can take that diagnosis back to your extension agent, and they can give you a solution to help you deal with that problem that you may have. So it's a great service.
The courtesy that laboratory shows, if they didn't feel like they had enough material, they will send a letter back and they will copy us, and they'll tell the person that they don't have to pay the fee again if they'll just resubmit. Sometimes they'll call them on the phone. I've never seen the level of care that they spend. I mean, you'd think it'd just be with all the huge number of the huge volume they have, and yet each one, it's as if it was a plant that was an heirloom from a grandmother. They treat it with that courtesy, and we see how much our clients appreciate that.
We take pride in that, and we're a service to the state of South Carolina, and that's really our goal, is to serve the citizens.
And also the turf diagnoses, I think, is also critical.
Yes,
you know how people are, the ones who love their lawns, and when they understand that they can send a sample in, and to think that y'all grow out and find out exactly what the problem is, for $15. And the thing is that means that a client won't spend $100 on an improper or an unnecessary chemical treatment.
That's right. If they see there's a problem, rather than go out and spend $100 on some chemicals that may or may not fix the problem, it's really easy to get a sample to us. We turn it around fairly quickly for you.
Yes, you do.
And you have an extension agent on the other end that can give you a real good diagnosis that will fix the problem, save you a lot of money, and potentially get your lawn back where it needs to be. So it's a really good thing to see.
And then the soil test lab, y'all have spent over the last couple of years, have revised some of the instructions and information sheets that come with it.
Yes.
I think that the data is more complete now, and the other thing is that you give people options sometimes. If a farmer, sometimes I had someone call me once and say, well, y'all couldn't make up your mind. You told me I could put this much lime or this much lime. Explain why you would give options sometimes, why a farmer who's renting land might want to put a certain amount out rather than a total amount.
Well, depending on what their budgets are, it makes a difference. And to have an option, and a lot of what we do, we want optimal yields, but sometimes the threshold of spending that money is a little bit difficult for folks. So we try to give them something that would be more feasible for them economically. And again, it's a good discussion to have with your extension agent. What would this mean and what would this mean? And it gives them more options, and that's really what we want to do for growers. We don't want them to feel like they can't do something.
Yes.
So we try to give them options and help them have some tools to utilize to make some decisions that's best for them.
Well, I think that to have someone in a regulatory position who can smile and try to work with people is what you want, because y'all are always so courteous to everyone in extension, and then to see that you also extend that courtesy also to the clients.
Yes.
I think that means that we're all looking to protect our environment, to keep South Carolina as safe as we can, and yet allow our farmers to have the best possible yield.
That's right, and we try to take a good common sense approach to our regulatory purview. We want to use the regulations in a manner that's going to help South Carolina be strong, and that's what we try to do.
Well, we are glad that you are at the helm, and we appreciate the time that you spent explaining it to us today.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you.
Thanks.